Hey, what's up, guys? Jack from Jaggy Sports. It's NBA trade deadline. Make sure you hit subscribe, like, and notification on this video and other videos. I will keep you up to date on all the information. But the biggest fish is about to drop. What I mean by that, not literally a fish, but Stephen A. Smith off First Take at the closing minutes. He goes, 5 minutes ago, I heard this James Harden and Ben Simmons deal is about to go down. And it's any minute right now. It's going to happen. James Harden clearly wants out. His body language says it all. On that road trip, Kevin Durant joined the team, but James Harden didn't because he's at home rehabbing his hamstring. I don't know how believable that is, but what I do know for sure is James Harden is not happy. 100% he's not happy. Just look at the guy. He's totally not happy. There's a bunch of other trades that did happen. Clippers, they got Rodney Hood. They got traded Serge Ibaka to the Bucks. Goran Dragic to the Spurs. He got bought out. He's signing with the Mavs. Marvin Bagley, he's totally underrated. He's going to the Pistons, and you know what I mean? Like, Jeremy Grant might get traded today to the Portland Trailblazers. We don't know. But what I do know is the big fish is about to land.
Lots of things are swirling in the universe right now. So, Wendy, tell us, what are you hearing? What is the latest concerning this trade?
Yeah, so, I mean, James Harden hasn't formally asked, but his behavior and his actions on the Nets road trip out in the West last week and his inability to play this week have made clear that he wants to be traded. This is not a new concept for the Nets to realize. So the real challenge here, I mean, yeah, is there a deal to be made? Yes. Could we spend the next 2 hours talking about which pieces could go in it? Yes, and we'll do that a little bit, I'm sure. But the real bedrock issue, from what I understand, is what will happen with Harden and the Nets if they don't do this deal? If there's no deal by 3 o'clock, if all of the personalities and the factors and the animosity involved in this transaction makes it impossible, what James Harden is showing up to work tomorrow? Is it going to be the James Harden who was here earlier this year and was an all-star? Is it going to be the James Harden of last week in Sacramento, where he scored 4 points in what can only be termed as a protest performance? That is the big thing. And that is a Durant question. That is an ownership question. That is a general manager question. That is a coach question. What James Harden are they going to get? Because they are already facing Harden walking on them for a worse package or nothing this summer if they don't do this deal. What you would get by waiting is Harden this year and maybe this team getting a chance to win. But if you're getting Houston Harden and what happened last week, that is a real issue. And I don't know how the Nets are going to get clarity. I don't even know if James says that he'll be okay, if you can even trust it.
Go ahead, Big Perk.
So here's the thing, right? This is the problem when you team up with your friends, okay? And you're scared to hurt feelings. But at the end of the day, I think the Nets have no choice at this point. You have to find a trade that works because you can't bring him back in the locker room knowing that he don't want to be there. Because no matter how they will try to fake it, you still going to be getting that side eye like, yeah, all right, whatever, yeah, you all in. But I don't blame James, and he shouldn't be afraid to speak out about nothing. I don't know why he was scared. What backlash is he going to get? I told you, I said this time and time again, Stephen A. and Wendy, I would want out. Dealing with what Brooklyn got going on, and the common denominator, the person who's right in the middle, we all know is Kyrie Irving. And it's not just about the vaccine. It's his history. It's his pattern. James Harden didn't sign up for this. He has nothing to be ashamed about. He shouldn't get no backlash for wanting out. It's not his fault. So they could point the finger elsewhere. But I think Brooklyn, they have to trade James Harden. It's a must. They got to figure it out.
Well, Perk, a few things. And Wendy, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here this morning. Perk and I had this discussion yesterday. And Perk, let me be clear. I don't disagree with you about the James Harden portion as it pertains to what Brooklyn should do and should want to do. My issue with you and where we disagreed was when Philly decided to make that move with Ben Simmons sending him to Brooklyn. That's my belief. But we can discuss that later on in the show. Let me say this. You're absolutely right about James Harden in terms of how he should feel. But because he's elected to be quiet, he's actually looking worse because he hasn't come out, Perk, and did exactly what you said. Look at this situation. I ain't signed up for this. I ain't trying to be a part of this dysfunctionality that's reeking through this franchise. Had he said that, then everybody would be focused on that instead of him, as Wendy would point out, replicating his behavior in regards to what sparked his departure from Houston. But because he's been quiet, now you're thinking about what he pulled in Houston. Now you find yourself thinking about that again, and that's what makes him look bad, and issues of trust come into the equation. So that hurts James Harden. Kyrie is Kyrie. Let's be very, very clear about it. Wendy, I don't know if you knew this. Pink Perk, I don't know if you knew this. We're peons. We're peons. You understand what I'm saying? We don't matter. I mean, he is. His level of intellect and intelligence is so far above the rest of us. You know, Mr. World is flat. I mean, the bottom line is that all of us stand at the altar of Kyrie Irving. So he's living in his own world, his own dimensions. I'm not going to play in Brooklyn until they lift the mandate, but I'll be able to play on the road. You should be privileged to have me, okay? Because I am blessing you with my presence. Now, as a basketball player, I don't blame him one bit for having that attitude in terms of his talent because the brother is spectacular. But there is something to be said about team. There is something to be said about prioritizing an obligation towards winning, particularly when you're getting paid $35 million a year and you got that money because you swore that you would be ready to ball all day, every day in order to pursue a chip. But that's him. Ultimately, it comes down to Kevin Durant. Because whether it's Sean Marks, whether it's Joe Tsai, whether it's Steve Nash or anybody else, this is Kevin Durant's team. Before the brother got hurt, he was averaging 29 a game. He was a superstar in line to win in league MVP. He was right there in the discussion. We know who KD is. He told us before. We know who he is, okay? The bottom line is this is your franchise. Regardless of the fact that you follow Kyrie convinced you to go to Brooklyn, it's still your franchise. The only reason the Brooklyn Nets wanted Kyrie is because Kevin Durant said, that's my man, I want him. If it wasn't for that, they would have said back years ago, nah, we ain't trying to deal with that. We would elect to go in another direction. But Kevin Durant convinced him otherwise, so he's the one, by the way, KP, he's the reason James Harden is still there because he's told the Nets, from what I'm told, look, I'm going to come back after the All-Star break. The mandate will be lifted by May. And then, by the way, sometime in the spring or whatever, that's what their belief is. And if James Harden is still here with us, we can make a run and go for it. That's the reason James Harden is still there. Otherwise, the Nets would have moved him already.
So there you have it. Any minute now, James Harden will be traded to the 76ers. And Ben Simmons, the long-awaited drama about him getting traded is finally going to take place. Ben Simmons will finally get his chance to play and make his debut for the season by playing for the Brooklyn Nets. Make sure you tune in. This trade is not official yet. They are on the phones right now. Make sure you tune in, and by the time I upload this, you never know. This trade might actually have already gone down. So it's gonna happen. I will keep you guys up to date. If you want more up to date information, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that freaking notification button. I will bring you the latest up to date information. James Harden to the 76ers, Ben Simmons to the Brooklyn Nets is about to go down.